And Ms. Birch and Dr. Gibbons are participating in the meeting by telephone. Little birdie told me obviously that today is Tiffany's birthday. We have not seen that. So when she jumps on the phone, we will wish her a happy birthday, if not already. So Tiffany didn't want to work today, but thank you for joining us on this special day. Ms. Gaynor, please introduce our visitors.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to start over on my usual side with Mary Monka, our General Counsel. Lee Kidwell is Director of Internal Audits. Kyle Owen is our Associate Vice President of Facility Services. We have with us Vice President Marilyn Foley, Vice President Tony Vidmar. Back here in this corner, we have with us Sarah Hines from News Channel 6, Dr. David Carlson, who is Chair of the Faculty Senate, Provost James Johnston, Vice President Keith Lamb, Tyler Manning, who is the new editor of the Wichita, and with him is Rachel Johnson, photographer for the Wichita, and we have Cindy Ashlock, Executive Assistant to the President.
As a reminder, this meeting is streamed live or strived, keyword. Please silence your devices. We provide an opportunity for public comment concerning agenda items at the beginning of each meeting, and no one has signed up, so we will move on. Item 18-43, Gun College Building Project, Construction Budget and Contract Approval. As you will recall, in November, we were informed that the bid for this building came in over budget substantially. At that time, the board asked the administration to continue working with the architect and construction manager to review options for the building. We agreed that this special meeting would be scheduled when the administration was ready to recommend specific changes and would include updated renderings. This information was provided to you last week. Dr. Shifty will begin, followed by Dr. Foley and Mr. Owen. Dr. Shifty.
Okay. I just want to take a moment to thank the cabinet who's worked really hard on turning this around as rapidly as possible for you, because we want to get a shovel in the ground now, but we also want to react to your encouragement that we do everything we could to make this the best possible solution for all of us, since this is a very, very important building for us. So I'm looking forward to having your responses to what Kyle puts forward in terms of facilities and good visual images, and what Dr. Foley puts forward in terms of funding differences. So it's all up to them today.
Okay, I'm just going to do a real quick intro. So what you'll see is Kyle come up and he'll show you the renderings, which I know everybody was very interested in last go around. So we've done just some tweaks to the design. It's not the original you saw a year ago. I did a pretty extensive write-up in your packet. We will not be going through all of that in the packet. If you have questions about any piece of it, please let me know. Dr. Johnson's here too, as well, if you have any academic questions about use of the facility or functionality and modifications we did for that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kyle to go through the renderings in the presentation, and then from there, if you have financial questions, I'll be available. Let him get started.
Thank you.
We'll start by reviewing the renderings as architect has assembled over the last month or so, showing the changes with all our savings, including, and I'll show you the renderings from November of 2016, identify the changes to those also. And a couple of things to start with is that keep in mind this process, normally we'd like it to go in series rather than parallel. We were doing both the ideas and savings plan simultaneously with the rendering. So some of the concepts that we added or that we ended up approving have not been incorporated into these renderings, and I'll identify those as we go through. And we'll start with over here. This is obviously the east side, southeast corner of the building, and one of the cost ideas was to change the stair tower. It had terracotta tile on it to EFS, which is basically stucco. And even since this was assembled, we were thinking more that rather than wherever you see EFS identified, that there are 5 bricks that are used to put together the MSU colors on any given building. And we're thinking that we will probably select one of those colors to do a whole area rather than to mix them to help accentuate that part of the building, or to define different colors so it's not everything, not just the MSU brick. So where you see this, kind of go with that idea. The stair towers, they'll all be reduced to the same height as the top of the building. There was a wall that extended further out here. It's been eliminated. We still have the large glass eastern side of the building, but you can tell there, we're only going up to 3 floors instead of 4 floors. That's why it's kind of white through there. If you look really hard, you can kind of see the different floors into the atrium. Also, there was a decent amount of structural steel that was supporting that glass that's been eliminated. And then they also changed this area to EFS. Again, we're thinking more brick on that.
So Kyle,
Yes, ma'am.
we are going up 4 floors. The atrium stops at 3 floors.
Yes.
So you have 4 floors still in the building.
Right, and all 4 floors you can see out this glass window. It's just, you can walk and stand right here. You can't walk and stand right there.
So Kyle, to be clear, that by doing that though, the positive is it adds square footage on the 4th floor, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
When we, at the other meeting, we talked about doing the atrium just as 2 floors. I
Yes.
think. But now its new design is with 3 floors?
Correct. We were afraid that the 2 floors, it didn't have the wow factor that you were trying to get with the 4, and it really did. And you'll see the renderings. I think the interior looks still very impressive at 3 floors, and 2 floors would have been a little much. So. Okay. Thank you. Okay, this is the southwest view of the building, and these 3 areas are going to become EFS or brick potentially, and these stair towers will be reduced to the same height as the top of the rest of the building at 4 floors. This west entrance was kind of a hot box because it was all glass. We changed it to this design, a little more traditional. Personally, I like it. It's better than the other things. And this slide and the next one are kind of very similar to what we just looked at, but we'll look at them nevertheless with the EFS on these sides and the east or west entrance modification.
Kyle, are you saying that the brick that you're thinking about doing is going to be a second type of brick other than what's below here? Or
Yes,
is it all,
I'm sorry, yes, this is, our traditional MSU brick,
right?
and there are 5 different brick types that go in to obtain that look. And so the thought is that maybe we take, let me zoom in, but there's some lighter bricks there and take those and use them, just this area. Or maybe the one that's a little more pink goes in this area.
So what we're worried about is that the EFS, instead of the terracotta tiles, is less durable. And we have, this is a work in progress. So we got to this point, but we're still thinking about it. And we believe that the brick would be more durable, so we would try to get the lightest possible color brick where the white EFS is, and the closest to a terracotta color brick where the terracotta EFS is. And then you would have all brick on the exterior, but you would have a different color brick, but you wouldn't have the stucco look like you see on Legacy, because the brick is more durable.
The brick, you've got a 100-year building. The EFS or stucco is more like 30 years, and there's really maintenance requirements over the years that are required to keep it sealed, because it's basically just a insulated board that's got a coating on the outside of it.
And most importantly, the price is the same.
Yes.
So
Oh,
I've got a question then about the brick. If I assume what we're trying to do by isolating the color like that is to get the contrast that we
Yes.
currently have.
Correct.
So
Yes.
the idea is strictly contrast.
Yes. Yes.
And one other thing, the penthouse will be reduced in size. The plan is to still have some barrier walls, but the reality is when you're standing right here, you're not going to be able to see what's on the roof anyway. So we still have to have a penthouse, but it's probably going to be more like 120 square feet instead of 1,500. Again, this is kind of the same view that we were looking at, just a little more from the northeast east to northwest corner. Same issue with the ethos, or lighter colored brick, and the entrance modified there. From the interior, this would be as if you were standing at the glass wall looking back into the building, and you can see where we're at 3 floors here and still has a pretty open wow factor with it. The glass elevator has actually been removed. It will be a standard cab. And the next view will be like we're standing about where that person is, looking out to the east. Here we are, and you still have the large glass window view. And again, you're looking at 3 floors. I don't have a good shot, but this is that one sim lab that they wanted to really highlight and still be able to see from the other floors. So it will still be visible from the 3rd floor at least.
Kyle, when you say they remove the structural steel, what impact does that have, or why was the structural steel there in the first place?
It helped support this glass structure initially, but now the way this type of framework is tied into the rest of the building, instead of almost like a separate structure that was just holding that glass wall before. And this doesn't require it. And I think when we see, there's a rendering of the interior from the old version, that you'll see all that structure and it goes away. To me, it was strictly for aesthetics.
Okay, it wasn't integrity.
No, we're not. There's no chance of this being less structurally sound because we removed that. No, we couldn't do that. So. Okay. And this is what was presented to you in November of 2016. And you can see over here, this had the stair tower had terracotta tile on it, and it will be replaced with the brick. It also had you'll see in several of these shots with the Spanish tile roof on it. That was eliminated probably 10 months ago as a cost-saving effort. So that wasn't even part of the mix in this round. But the stair tower will be limited to the 4th floor. This wall was trimmed off, and this became the MSU brick. You can kind of tell, you see some gray lines through there. That's the structural steel that we would have seen. And there is, in the newer version, there was kind of a white barrier in there that's separating, so it was hiding the floor of the 4th floor. But you won't see that here. And then this was, they changed it to ethos. Again, would probably change it to a single color brick. From the northeast corner, again, same issues there. And they've changed all this to a single color brick. This, the ethos or the stair tower will become single colored brick. The penthouse will no longer be there to that extent. And of course, you will not have the Spanish tile on the top. So.
Kyle, what was going to be housed in the penthouse that we wanted it that big?
There are 2 or 3 air handlers that were going to be up there, and they're good sized air handlers, about the length of this room or more. So we're going to keep it inside of that. It's an aesthetic thing, really. We have them outside on several of our buildings. NASCOM has them on the roof. All the red line has them on the roof. I mean, it's not unusual. You have to put a different coating on the air handler, but it's no loss to the building. And then on the southwest corner, same issue with the ethos here and the stair tower, as well as the glass entrance being changed.
So Kyle, I think what's interesting about this is when you look at where you have the ethos, you can see the textures in the tile. That was a textured tile, and that's why Dr. Follet suggested we look at brick, because you'll get your texture back, which will be really interesting, instead of just a flat stucco. So we're pretty excited about that.
Okay, thank you. And this is the interior view showing the structural steel that has been removed. Unfortunately, I don't have a rendering. It went all the way to the fourth floor from last November.
No, we never had that.
That's the major change. This is removed. You still have a view back towards the quad and such. And just to review some of the savings ideas we came up with, or I should say, Trinity Hughes Sun spent a lot of effort over the last couple of months coming up with well over $3.6 million worth of changes, but we accepted the 3.6, with these being the larger ones. Replacing that terracotta tile saved us almost $700K. Going with a 3-story atrium saved us over $600K. And that had a lot to do with because we were able to eliminate the smoke evacuation system because it was a shorter atrium. And then these glass wall chains, the structural steel was removed out of it, saving $400K. A lot of the steel in the stairwells was going to have a fireproof paint on it. It's very labor intensive, took many coats, and so instead of doing that, there's going to sheetrock over it. And $300,000, that's a lot of paint. So it's well worth doing that. Nobody's really going to notice it. Penthouse size was reduced, and the elevator was replaced with a standard cab instead of glass. And to review our budget, really up till October of this year was a $29.25 million construction budget. It's now at 33.5. Equipment was at 4.1. We're now at 3.1. Furniture, relatively the same. Architect fees had to go up because the construction budget went up, and other services that have to do with our management fees, geotech testing or materials testing, test and balance for the air conditioning system, just general costs that we have, it goes up because the price of the billing goes up, percentage of it. So the difference being $4 million extra. However, and to fund that, we were holding back $2 million from the original approval amount. So that's where that $2 million in reserves is coming from. $1 million is from equipment that Dr. Johnson will try and find other ways to fund the equipment, and then we'll pull almost $2 million out of the other TRB projects from savings from those.
What do the other services include? Or can you just give a,
That's what I say. We're going to actually, we've hired you may not recall, but we've hired a program or project manager to oversee, kind of be the owner's rep, do what we would normally do, but we've got the other projects going on, so we don't have the time to be able to oversee them. So that's a significant part of it. Another is when they pour concrete, you have to test every time they pour to make sure the concrete is what is per spec. We don't want to make sure it's correct and not it cures up right, and they use the right mixes and such. We have inspections when they drill the piers. We've had another firm come out and look to measure depth and size and look at the steel, make sure it's right, things like that. That when the building is through, they have to go through what's called test and balance, which is verifying that you're getting enough air in each of the buildings and the airflows are correct in each of the rooms.
Kyle, we can go back a slide. So the frustration that I have is the architect fee. Because originally, when we got this project, we said, we approved it based on the condition and the architect had actually come in, knew the budget in advance. And so I don't want to speak for everybody else, but that's pretty frustrating in my opinion, that we're paying them more to go back in and fix something that it should have been in line with in the first place. And so hopefully this is kind of two-part. One, that we don't make that mistake ever again. But two, then the contract process, Barry, is there some way that we can kind of look at that we can ensure that when we're executing these, it's full, they understand that they have to come in line with something that we're budgeted. This is a huge expense of energy and time that we're having to put in.
Sure, we can look at that. They can also negotiate with the architect.
Sam, I thought we were told at when we were discussing this at the last meeting, that all of this was gonna be on them.
Well, excuse me for interrupting, but If we could tell them, you have to hit that 29.25 amount, and it would be on them. But since we're accepting it the way it is, or if we do this manner, then we have to pay them. Contract says we have to pay them up a percentage of the construction amount.
Because-
If we force them to redesign it, we wouldn't have to.
Yeah, we came to you assuming that we would do that. We came in here assuming that we would just change the building until we got to the amount we were at. And we thought we heard from you that we really needed to look at this again and not decrease the impact of this building. And I think your advice was good advice, but if we do that, then we had to come up with spending more, because otherwise we would have reduced square footage, and our goal was not to reduce the functionality of the building.
So I get that, but I have to express the same frustration Sam is expressing, because, look, we're working hard here trying to get the original building the way it was. And for us to come back and pay $390,000 more to get the architects to do that, I get the contractual obligation, but that's frustrating. And so to Barry's point, we need to pursue, from a contractual standpoint in the future, to fix that. Because we can't have something coming back $10 million over what it's supposed to be and get that. I've got another question on this slide. That 1.96 million of other TRB projects, please tell me that we're not going to take away from the things that we're already planning on doing. It's savings or things that we've reevaluated or whatever.
Well, Marilyn and Kyle can probably describe this in detail better than I can, but what I didn't understand when we went into this deliberation is that there is a time limit on that TRB funding, and we have to spend it or lose it.
Right.
And so we had actually thought about leaving parts of this building unfinished and going back and finishing them later and applying the money to Bridwell. But rather than do that and lose the money, we're leaving some pieces of Bridwell unfinished, and we will figure out how from our own funds to go back in and
So
do
there's
that.
it's not like we're
It's not the
robbing
line.
Peter to pay Paul. We're
It is a little bit. It is a little
but not in a negative way.
But yes, it's all negative.
Well, it's all negative
Yeah.
because we're having to go through the process. I
Correct.
get that, but
Yes.
we're consciously making the
We are
decision. Okay, all
consciously
right.
making the decision, and we're doing that because we have more time that way.
Yeah.
So a really good deliberation that we reached is reducing the equipment budget. If we can recover the equipment budget and then maybe put some more back into TRB, I mean, we will be watching this the whole time. And Dr. Follet is really good at watching the numbers and seeing where we can save. And so in a way, that TRB reduction is a little debit account that we can keep accruing.
Got it.
And we just need the time to do that.
That makes sense.
If I could just make a comment real quick. You notice this is 4 million, and this is adding up to more than 4 million. So on the next sheet, you'll see part of this building is a server room. And so $811,000 is coming from another project. So that's part of it. It's already budgeted. The ADA fire marshal project came in almost 600,000 under budget. So there's another 600,000 right off the top. Our IT project, we're hopeful we'll get another $100,000 or $200,000 savings. So I'm really hoping the overall
So it truly is
impact
savings and consolidation.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
hoping that
Okay.
the last two projects we have is Bridwell renovation, when HSHS moves out, what happens to Bridwell, and the other one is the library, and we really don't want to take anything from the
So
library.
just by the math you just gave me, that's $1.5 million of the $1.196. I mean,
Right. We're pretty
$1.960.
close,
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to be economical on the Bridwell project. But it's a very well furnished building right now. I mean, it's not like you gotta go in and start all over again.
Yeah.
So we're
Okay.
hoping we can reuse a lot of the configuration and the space as it is.
When we get our TRB money, is it specific to certain projects, or do we have that latitude to move it around?
We can move it around. We said we wanted to spend it on certain things, and as long as we spend it on those certain things.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily, X amount to this and X amount to that.
But we have to spend it on those
four
things.
Yeah.
Right.
The things we identified in the TRB.
And We were pushing the envelope a little bit already in spending less on the health sciences building and more on other things because the way I was updated, it was really the health science building that the legislature was most excited about. And we saw the dominoes falling to impact these other buildings, and I pushed us to kind of incorporate those more. So we're backing really a little closer to what the legislature expected from this.
And then on the contract comment of the architect, two things. When we had the legacy issue, we did a contract, we changed the way we did our contract and said if you can't get it within budget, you will be contracted to redesign and redesign and redesign until you get it within budget.
Without further
Without
compensation.
any compensation to do so. So, great, that sounds like a really good proposal, but the problem is when we got this building, we were $7 million over budget, and to get it back within the 29.25, that was gonna be a big compromise that you all didn't wanna do.
Nor did we.
Yeah, we didn't want to do that. So future contracts, we've talked about it, and I think, and we've talked to hopefully Barry to figure out a way to do this, that we'll put in that if the architect, if it's over more than 5%, they will design, they will not charge us anymore. So their fee is going to be pretty well fixed to whatever that original construction contract is, plus 5%. And if it comes in a lot higher than that, then tough, you're not getting any more money.
So why I'm harping on this is when I do the math in my head, they're getting an upcharge of about 17%. We're going over by, say, 11%. I mean, why not track? Why not lockstep with us, the overcharge? I mean,
They're locked into 7.25%. Anything above the 29.25, they get 7.25%.
well, but, so what I'm saying is their original fee was 2.5. They're now at 2.89. That's closer to 17%. What is that? That's my point, okay?
Because I think it's the 29 to the 33 versus the 38 to
Right.
the 42.
Yeah, it's the
Oh,
percentage
okay.
line towards
I
the
got
budget.
you. I got you. Okay, you're right. You're right.
Shrunk the equipment down.
We
Yeah,
shrunk
but
everything
still-
but
but
them.
that's
I think
still
that Sean's,
more.
they're getting the benefit of this increased cost.
You are
There's
correct.
no additional work on their part.
Well, we're getting less billing than we originally.
No, we're not.
No, we're
That's
not.
what we held to. That's why they're getting more. We're having the same square footage.
But we're getting less, effects, for lack of a better term.
Different aesthetics. We're not unhappy with them, but they're slightly different. Yeah, but you're right.
Well, to Kyle's point, I love the entrance better this way than the other one.
And I don't want to take away from, I do think you guys did a phenomenal
Yeah.
job.
I do.
In doing that. I guess just to reiterate that point,
Yes.
is I just don't want us to be in this position again.
We share your frustration.
Now that we've seen it go the other direction, we sure don't want to have it, because I mean, the fact that we, put something before them, they said absolutely they'll come in at that, and it comes in extremely out of budget is disappointing.
For what it's worth, the contracts we used are from the UT system. They weren't something we just dreamed up on our own. They're based on history that their OFPC has used for years. So obviously there needs to be an edit.
And the architects wrote them originally. Serious.
But
That's true.
can you go to the last slide again, because I think really important is that second piece.
Yeah.
Because what we're asking you to do is not just approve this, but also put some limitations on, and I'd like Marilyn and Kyle to explain those limitations, because they got a lot of abbreviations in there. On number 2, like, would you go through the recommendation?
GMP with the GMP.
Okay, the authorization of the contract for the Trinity Hughes site for a guaranteed maximum price of $34.3 million. And that includes the price of the data center as well as the building itself. The data center is about $811K of the total, but it's more economical for us. Let's bid all at the same time. They don't really care how we fund it. It's all on the same project. We get better pricing if we put it in one big package rather than trying to separate it out.
I'm talking about what you're limiting here, guaranteed maximum
Oh,
price.
they'll have to build it
Talk
for
about
that. That's the risk part of the construction manager risk. They have to build it for that price. They can't change it unless we have a scope change.
Yeah, no,
We won't be.
I agree, it's extremely important that, obviously, we've had you guys go back around, reallocate, and we're contracting that it's gonna be done at this amount, period.
Yeah, I agree. The previous limits we had with Trinity Hughes Son for the pricing, kind of not to go back to the last board meeting too much, but it was based on an estimated cost construction limit, and it was really their fees they would charge to build it, not that they would build the building for $29.25 million. Just they would only charge $500,000, whatever it was, to build it. And that's not changed. What's changed is the cost to build the building, and now this is guaranteeing. They guarantee they will get it done for that amount.
So the 34.3 is 811 plus the 33.55. Is that the way I read that?
Yes.
Is that what that is? Okay.
So that's our recommendation.
Okay, well, before we discuss further, can I have a motion to approve this item as presented?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Is there any other additional discussion or questions you guys want to?
Yeah, I have one question, Sam. Okay, so we're not going back out for bids. We're locked into a contract.
We will be if you approve this and if we proceed with the contract.
And that's who? Who's
With
THS?
Trinity Hughes Son, they're the
Okay,
construction manager at risk. And unfortunately, there are kind of other issues related to if we wait till after the first of the year to work through this and sign a contract, we're going to have pricing changes due to materials and most likely labor too, because everybody's fleeing to Houston to get rich.
Okay, so why have we chosen them?
We went through this process, I don't remember exactly, but roughly about a year ago. And they were we went through a process where we evaluate them, between their price, their history, and their reputation. We decided and recommended that they be the one that do this construction for us.
So the selection was based on the bidding process.
Yeah, we went through our request for proposal. They provided a price, and then we went through and evaluated it based on some criteria that was listed in the RFQ or RFP, and selected them. And
Okay.
If we say yes today, when will we be breaking ground?
Tomorrow.
If you say yes today, Monday they'll be putting up a fence, and I'll give them a notice. They will continue. We stopped them on the GMP one, the site package, and they'll start that Monday, and then we'll finalize this GMP within a week so that they can. Back about 20 minutes before the meeting, I got the next version, so we'll be ready to proceed before we go out on break.
May I ask Shayla a question?
Absolutely.
Shayla, when you see that, your voice was really, really important to me at this meeting when you said the students are expecting this. Does the impact satisfy you in terms of, knowing that we compromise some, do you still see the impact you think students were looking for in this building?
Yes, I think the front of the building was probably the biggest impact that students will probably see if we were to take it away. And now that it's still here, it's just 1/4, smaller than we had. I think that's not going to matter. They just want to see that on the outside of the building.
Thank you.
Sam, I've got an additional question about the equipment reduction. Make sure I understand it. Are we saying we're gonna have $1 million less equipment, or we're not gonna allocate $1 million of the 4, and then we're gonna figure out some other way to pay for the $1 million?
We're going to go fundraise for it.
Okay.
James is.
Yes. Any other questions, concerns, you want to talk to, any vote? Linwood, you still there?
I am. I think your questions have been really good, and I've been listening. I like it.
Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Board of Regents will go into an executive session to discuss items 18-44A, consultation with attorney, 18-44B, real property, 18-44C, prospective gift or donation is allowed by Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 072, and 073. For the record, the date is December 13th, 2017, and the time is
3:05.
The closed session is complete. The only items discussed were the items announced and no votes were taken. Is there any further action to come before the board? If not, that concludes our meeting today. I thank you for your participation in coming out on this, making short notice of it. Those of you participating in graduation should have received your packet from Ms. Barrow. Please check with her if you have not. Have a wonderful holiday season, and we are adjourned.
And Shayla's graduating.
And Jeff's daughter's
And Jeff's daughter's graduating.